Hello, and welcome to Fanfiction Analysis with Emma Ivelli. I'm Emma Ivelli, and this is my possessed computer, V. V, timestamp it. I'm sorry for the hiatuses. Hopefully, after I play catch up again, I will finally get things together. Yeah, you're right. Yes, I know. Can we please get to the topic at hand? Okay, anyways, whenever you do a crossover, you have to figure out how the two shows fit together. Sometimes it's very difficult to figure out how two works can fit together. Sometimes it can take some work, but not too much if the two series have similar themes. But in some cases, such as with Madoka Magica and Bleach, you don't have to think that much. Due to a certain similarity, it's easy to cross over the two. Witches and hollows, souls that were corrupted and warped into a monsterless form. There are currently 10 crossovers between the two series, so it doesn't meet my criteria for a top 5 episodes. But in this case, it's quality over quantity. Why have a bunch of bad stories when you can have one really awesome one? This is As N Approaches Infinity by Kurosaki. Now let's get started. Prologue. Infinigular. Timeline X plus N plus 54. A peaceful spring had descended upon Karakura town. It was a welcome relief to the inhabitants of the Urahara shop. The sinister supernatural plotting and the major project has been nearly resolved mere months before. All the supernaturally aware residents of Karakura had breathed a sigh of collective relief and found themselves able to relax and enjoy the budding and blossoming of trees and flowers. True, they would never be free of hollows, but individual hollows were much less stressful than predatory conspiracies. Simple hollow hunting was like a vacation compared to the threats orchestrated by Sosuke Aizen and Execution. One of these calm spring days 2 weeks before the new school year found Jinta Hinakari and Uriyusuma Mugia in the courtyard of Urahara's shop as usual. Neither had bothered to change out of their school uniforms. Life has gone back to normal for them, which is to say Uru was dutifully sweeping the path while Ginta acted out and narrated an imaginary baseball game in which he led his team to victory. Both stopped and looked up when someone entered the courtyard. A girl with long dark hair stood primly at the entrance to the yard. She appeared to be a middle schooler, but her uniform was unfamiliar to Ginta and Ululu. A clean jacket, lead bow, and black and white plaid skirt worn with black leggings. The girl stared at them for a moment, then approached the shop with a measured pace. Ululu smiled blandly. "Welcome to the Urahara shop. Can I get anything for you? Today we have a sale on imported candy." The girl stopped for a couple yards from the shop entrance. "No, thank you," she replied in a cold voice. "I would like to speak with the owner, please." Ululu blinked. Before she could answer, Tasai's mountainous form leaned out the door. "May I ask what about, miss?" The girl shifted her gaze to him unruffled. "Personal business." Tasai cocked his head one side and sized her up, not recognizing her. But sensing that she was more than the average human, he asked, "And who shall I tell him is calling?" The girl ran a hand through her hair and tossed it over her shoulder. Homura Kemi. All right, please do come in. Tasai led Homura into the shop, ushered her into a table in the loom behind the stockroom, served her tea, and disappeared into the depths of the building. Jinta and Uru found excuses to clean the stockroom as to find out what the mysterious stranger wanted. Homura merely sat neatly and stared at her teacup between sips. 10 minutes later, Kisuke Ohara blazed into the loom, Tasai at his heels, and cheerfully began. Good afternoon, Miss Akemi. Lovely day, isn't it? Homura blinked up at him and set down her empty cup. She folded her hands in her lap. I suppose so, Mr. Urahara. Urahara seated himself across Homura, gleaning rather maniacally, as Tasai refilled Homura's teacup and served his employer before backing away. So, what do I owe the pleasure of your company, Miss Akemi? Urahara peered over the rim of his teacup. Homura shifted slightly. Highly observant, Urahara knows her fists clench and unclench. I have collected the data you requested, and am here to submit it for study. Urahara raised his eyebrow curiously. Thank you very much, Miss Akemi. What data would that be? Homura picked up her teacup again and solemnly stared at Urahara over it. The data you requested in an effort to save the lives of the Kurosaki sisters from a threat that went unnoticed while you distracted by their brother. She calmly sipped her tea. A scuffling noise came from the stockroom. Urahara froze, mind racing. He rapidly considered and discarded possibilities, then lowered his head and peered out at Homura from the shadow of the brim of his hat. And how could I request such data from you when I am unaware of any threat and don't recall meeting you before? Homura lowered her teacup and locked eyes with him. She pushed her hair behind one ear and bluntly replied, Because this is the first time you have met me, doesn't mean I haven't met another you. Urahara stared. In the silence, they could hear Jinta's muffled voice declare, That makes no goddamn sense. Several moments passed as Urahara thought. Homura merely sipped her tea. Finally, Urahara leaned toward her and slowly asked, When did you meet me then? Celine, Homura answered, 5 weeks from now. Urahara quirked one eyebrow. 5 weeks ago? Homura shook her head. No, roughly 5 weeks from today, late April, the day the 10th Division Captain has arranged to begin his surveys of his division's assigned districts in this legion, starting with Naruki City. His goal is to ensure the density of Shimigami he is assigning to cover the area is adequate. He contacted you to arrange supplies 2 days ago. Urahara sat back and stared at her for a long time. The girl patiently bore his scrutiny. Finally, Urahara tipped his hat to her and grimly said, It seems we have much to talk about, Miss Time Traveler. Homura inclined her head in agreement. Quite. Eins, timeline, X plus N. Homura stood on a catwalk in a building under construction across from the Mitaki-Hara train station. A haunting maritime symphony still echoed in her head. Ghostly violins danced across her eyes. She stared numbly at the wall at the entrance to the Mermaid Witch's labyrinth. Had just melted away in the dying sunlight. The sharp ping of the witch's grief seed bounced on the catwalk, dispelled the final strains of the ominous melody. After a moment, Homura bent and picked it up. Too late again. Always too late, or long, or both this time. She had not expected this timeline's Kyoko to care enough about Sayaka, to want to save her. Had not expected this Kyoko to have enough idealism to even consider the possibility. Had definitely not expected Kyoko to drag Madoka with her on her fool's errand. Was absolutely shocked to enter the haunted, inverted concert hall only to witness Kyoko launching a suicide attack at the Mermaid Witch, whose armored hand Homura had seen mere moments to see Madoka crushed, bloodied body. Homura had only begun to comprehend the magnitude of her failure when the labyrinth crumbled around her, awash in ruby light. None of this had happened in other timelines. So what had she missed this time? Even her manipulation of time didn't allow for her to be elsewhere at once, so she had no idea what Kyoko and Sayaka had gotten up to. What was most frustrating was the fact that she would be unable to find out after all. Everyone she could ask was dead. This time, Homura had managed to let everyone else die 10 entire days before Walpurgisnacht's descent. Homura looked down at the shield attached to her left wrist and the purple glint of her soul gem on her hand. She had 10 days worth of sand left in her shield sand timer. 10 entire days before the sand timer would reverse and send her back to the beginning. She had 10 entire days to wander around Mitaki Hala and reflect on her failure and plan for the next timeline, while the city taunted her of memories of once was. Unbearable. That would be unbearable. While there were multiple timelines in which Mami, Kyoko, and Sayaka didn't survive until the end, never before had she approached Walpurgisnacht with Madoka already dead. Flesh, grief, and 10 days to reflect on her failure? No. She would disappear. The futility of facing Walpurgisnacht in this timeline would drag her down and turn her into a witch before she could save Madoka in the next timeline. Homura couldn't let that happen. With halting her steps, Homura turned from the wall and wandered back across the catwalk. Plodded down the stairs instead of hopping down, she aimlessly left the construction site and roamed the train switchyard. Blankly stared at the sky as a commuter train roared past her and disheveled her hair from the last of the twilight. Generally, Homura disapproved of the whims of these days. Impulsiveness had proven too deadly for her to do much without forethought. But the lazy need to get away from Mitaka Hala consumed her. She couldn't bear to see Madoka's empty desk at school. Couldn't bear the inevitable media furor that would arise when Madoka was reported missing. Mami's disappearance was finally noticed, and Sayaka's corpse was discovered wherever Kyoko had stashed it. Couldn't bear the cheerfully accusatory faces of her friends staring out at her from missing persons posters. Couldn't bear that there would be no posters for Kyoko, as there was no one left to miss her. So on reflection, it wasn't terribly surprising that Homura lifted her shield and stopped time, staggered her way onto the passing train, and jumped on its roof. She flopped down on the cold metal and automatically secured herself with magic. Time resumed with a click. Scenery rushed by in a blur before Homura's dull eyes. She didn't particularly care where the train took her as long as it wasn't Mitaki Hala. Homura had a warped relationship with the flow of time and played tricks on her sometimes in ways the less rational part of her mind considered revenge for her manipulations. Morosely perched on top of the train, Homura ceded all control and let time do with her what it would. She passively drifted along with time as the train charged through it, simply watching the constellations appear and shift as the wind and wheels roared in her ears. Many stops barely registered to her. Homura finally blinked back to reality when the regular stop stretched on, unusually long, and the sound of men arguing drifted up to her. Glad for something new to focus on, Homura climbed to her feet and stealthily hopped along the cars until she reached the engine, where the arguing was the loudest. "You're not listening, I'm telling you. The computer is saying we're scheduled to be here until midnight, but that's obviously wrong." "Obviously? You sure you tried to override it?" "Yes, I told you 5 times already. The system shut down the train and won't let me restart it." "Maybe you should retry it. It's been a long shift, eh? Are you saying you think I know exactly what I'm doing? Not exactly. I could do this in my sleep, but something is wrong with the scheduling program. You should be able to see it on the station terminal, too. A deep sigh. Light, let me look into it. The men withdrew into the train, the bickering glowing muffled as they were deeper into the engine. Homura cocked her head curiously. After a moment she shrugged and reached up to push her hair from her face. Her soul gem was glowing. Adrenaline flooded her body. She sharply surveyed the train station, then slowly spun, swept her bejeweled hand around her like a compass needle. The soul gem glowed the brightest when she faced the train station proper. The magical girl frowned and gracefully descended from the train car. She flitted from corner to corner like a phantom thief, largely concealed by the purples and black of her costume. Eventually, the glowing soul gem led Homura to the main electronic schedule display board. Her eyes narrowed. There was a momentary flicker. Homura brandished her soul gem, prompting the appearance of an orange sigil shaped like a pumpkin with a clock face, overlapping a stylized butterfly wings. Scowling, Homura passed through the portal. The labyrinth was new to her, though it reminded her of the initial appearance of the Mermaid Witch's labyrinth when she had first transformed. There were haphazard train tracks and tunnels zigzagging about. Industrial wreckage littered every surface that did not host train. A multitude of clocks adorned every vertical surface, causing an echoing cacophony of asynchronous ticking. This nightmare world didn't have the heavy sense of presence that a true labyrinth held, so it likely only housed the familiar. No matter, Homura could stand the event by shooting an inconsequential enemy. She drew a gun and used her soul gem to choose the best train track to follow. As she wove through the maze of tracks and tunnels, the sound of battle drew her attention and gradually grew louder. So another magical girl had beaten her to the punch. Homura paused, considered leaving, and decided to continue for lack of anything else to do. Soon, she emerged into what appeared to be a large subway station, studded with clocks, the floor covered in scattered wreckage and pumpkins of varying sizes. The familiar was plainly visible on a far platform. It was a scarecrow the size of a man with a gigantic turnip for a head. It was dressed as a train conductor. A whistle was jammed into the turnip where a mouth would be on a human face. The whole thing topped off its reality with a pair of glimmering fairy wings on its back. A shrill burst of sound from its whistle knocked back not one, but two magical girls, one clothed in red and the other clothed in yellow. Homura would have preferred to find magical girls wearing different colors, like green or perhaps brown. Red, yellow, blue, and pink were heavy colors for her, especially pink. Thank everything neither of them were pink. She could handle red and yellow in comparison. The two girls recovered admirably, vaulting in different directions. They executed what appeared to be a practiced move. The yellow-clad girl lashed out and ensnared the familiar's legs with a golden whip and yanked. When the familiar fell, the red-clad girl rushed in and slashed her with a katana. The fairy scarecrow shattered like glass, and the labyrinth began to waver out of existence. The yellow-clad girl threw her hands up and cheered happily. The red-clad girl grinned and high-fived her partner, then noticed Homura standing against the far wall of the deserted train station terminal. Homura had to give the girl credit. She snapped into seriousness and took a defensive pose in the blink of an eye. The yellow-clad girl instantly went on alert, too, despite apparent confusion. Homura stood passively at the lead-clad girl with dark hair and eyes, stared at her suspiciously. After a moment, Homura spread her arms tightly, palms forward, and quickly called out, "I do not intend to attack you. I apologize for the intrusion. I was traveling and didn't realize the situation was under control." The yellow-clad girl relaxed. Her lead-clad companion lowered her blade but remained wary. Homura took a moment to glance around the empty train station. The previously glitched electronic schedule board declared the time to be 9:17 p.m. The next train wasn't scheduled to appear until 10 p.m. That explained the lack of people. Homura returned her gaze to the new magical girls. The lead-clad girl opened her mouth to speak, but stopped and glanced to the side when exaggerated footsteps echoed along the tile hall, accompanied by male voices. The train conductors, Homura announced. She stared at the wary girl in the eye and laced her power, allowing her school uniform to replace her magical girl costume. After a beat, the other two girls followed suit, each wearing matching school uniforms. They were still staring at each other when two uniformed men who Homura had overheard arguing turned the corner and crossed into the far end of the room. The three girls silently watched as the two men bicker about glitches and technical support. One stopped suddenly as his mobile device beeped. "Oh, now it works!" "Eh? The reset went through or something?" "Damned if I know. System says it's ready to go now. What the hell is with this town? Kazuyo, something goes wrong with my train whenever I come through here. It's like the place is jinxed." "Well, weird things do happen in Karakura. You have to get used to it. Just get back to your train and get on with your life. No big deal." Easy for you to say when you're not the only one who gets chewed out for being late. "Then get back to your train and go before you run later. God, you're such a..." The girls watched as the men separate and stood silently as they heard the muffled sound of the train pulling out of the station. The brunette who had worn the yellow costume started slightly and turned to Homura. "Oh, was that your train?" Homura turned to the girl. She had found the brunette concerned while her black-haired companion's face had settled into deadpan boredom. After a moment, Homura realized the girl expected an answer. "I suppose." The girl tossed her pony hair and stretched a bit. "You suppose that was your train?" The brunette pouted. "Colleen?" Yeah, Yuzu." Colleen waved a hand dismissively before locking both hands behind her head, elbows in the air. With a bored skepticism, she drawled. "So you're traveling and don't mind missing your train? Where were you going?" Homura stared, then blandly answered, "No in particular." Colleen raised her eyebrows dubiously and drew breath to speak. The brunette beat her to it, glaring her into silence, and then tried to enforce politeness. Yuzu turned to look at Homura and earnestly said, "I understand if you want to keep it a secret. We've only met one other magical girl and..." She faltered. "I can understand if you don't want us to be able to follow you, but you look kind of lost and tired. So if you tell us where you want to go, we can help you. We don't want any more territory than we have. Karakura is enough for us." Homura frowned. "I appreciate your offer, but I don't have any destination in mind." Yuzu looked confused. Colleen raised an eyebrow. "So what, you hopped on a train to see where it would take you?" "I suppose." Colleen's eye twitched. Yuzu frowned and stepped closer to Homura. She cocked her head and asked, "Why would you do that?" Homura's first inclination was to remain silent, to pull her mysterious disappearing act and run away. But there wasn't another train to hop on, and she didn't know where she was. And as Yuzu observed, she was tired, so tired. And those concerned brown eyes, they were the wrong color, but the expression reminded her of Maru. "My friends were killed by a witch today," Homura blurted. This was why she was quiet these days. As soon as she spoke the words, made the situation real. The grief overwhelmed her careful mental barriers. Tears welled up in her eyes. She sniffled. She fought it. She tried to stifle a sob, trembled with the force of it. Colleen and Yuzu's eyes widened as their faces paled. Homura clenched her fists so tightly, her nails bit into her palms. "They went on a fight without me. When I got there..." The The thing that had been Sayaka had killed her best friend. Madoka had been a macabre black doll, and Kyoko had begun a form of self-immolation. And here she had thought she had hardened her heart against the miserable fates of everyone but Madoka. She had been fooling herself. Still, though, Sayaka's fall and Kyoko's sacrifice hurt. Madoka's umpteenth death was agony. Tears ran down her face and she sobbed once. Homura pressed her hands over her mouth and bent toward the ground to hide her face. She heard a few quick footsteps, then found herself lapped in a warm embrace. "I'm so sorry," Yuzu's voice wobbled. Homura could feel the other girl's wet cheek press against her ear. A girl she had just met was crying for her. "That's horrible. You must feel, oh, I'm so sorry." The two girls held one another and cried for a few minutes, while Colleen hovered nearby, awkward and concerned, and trying not to think of what she would do if she ever lost Yuzu to a witch. The crying girls were oblivious to a security guard whose patrol took them near there. He eyed the girls and raised a brow at Colleen in search of an explanation. Our friend got some bad news. A death, so we're..." Colleen shrugged and looked at her sister and the stranger helplessly. The security guard's face went solemn. He glanced at the schedule board clock. "If you'd prefer privacy, you might want to find a more out-of-the-way place. The last of the commuter trains from up north will be showing up soon." "Thank you, sir." Colleen stretched in a quick bow and bit her lip. After the guard moved on, she stepped forward and gently took both girls by her shoulder. "Come on, let's go somewhere else." So yeah, that was the prologue and the first two chapters. Now let's get to my thoughts on the chapters and the story as a whole. It's slow, it's not that fast paced, and the chapters are really short. But don't worry, once you get past this stage, it becomes so good. As the two series collides, so much happens. The chapters get longer and the plot gets really intriguing, and you can't help but to read it. And I really mean that. Like take when chapter 21 was updated. I read it and enjoyed it. Yeah, it does. But that's only if you ignore the fact that I read it while on vacation, off my cell phone, during downtime, from enjoying the most magical place on earth. So yeah, how's that for an endorsement? As N approaches infinity. So awesome you'll read it on a cell phone while at Disney World. Though there is a problem. I don't know when this fanfic is going to end. It's already very long as it is, and we don't know how many timelines it's actually going to show. As the prologue stated, there have been 54 already. So, yeah. But even with that, it's still a really great fanfic that combines two series together perfectly. But yeah, with what I said about Madoka Magica and Bleach, it doesn't take that much to perfectly blend the two series together. Anyways, later! Remember to leave a like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Also, support me on Patreon. The link is in the description.